It is the G-Bag Nation here on 105.3 The Fan, and we are fortunate enough now to be joined in the lead-up to the 2021 NFL Draft by Stephen Jones here on your home of the Cowboys. And a good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Good afternoon, guys. Doing well.
We are having a fantastic time talking about this. How tough is it for you guys to know for sure what your contingencies and plan look like with the 10th overall pick 6 days out?
We feel good about it. I think we're getting a heartbeat. You're always going to have surprises. I mean, that's without comes knowing that's probably going to happen at the end of the day. But the more you get your hands around everything, we just feel really good about where we sit right now. And there's going to be a really, really good football player sitting there for us. When we pick, we don't have to have everything fall just right, and know that I think things are really going to work out for us, and we're going to come away with a quality football player.
Steven, I don't know how many fans realize this, but I believe I'm right in assuming that, like, you guys and other NFL teams, you guys do mock drafts, don't you, to kind of see how this might look in different ways? We
actually do. It's just, it's interesting because, our guys are well-versed in this, and they obviously – have visited with different teams around the league about different things, and, not on the road as much as we normally are, so there's not as much conversation. But, it's really good to go through those mock drafts and see what you never know when they're going to come up with a scenario in one of those mock drafts that's interesting, and you have to address it, and you see what that might mean. Now, at the end of the day, we think we cover most of them, but it is, I think productive. In our particular case, I think they're sure productive to go through the first round and up to our second pick in the second round there. Then I think that's productive.
Okay, so I asked that because last year when I would do the stupid mock draft simulators, anytime that CeeDee Lamb made it to 17, I would just reboot the simulator because I would be like, guys, that's not going to happen. And then it did. So when you guys were doing that, how often did you think you would have to consider a receiver?
I don't think that we had one. So I guess our mock drafts weren't doing well in terms of showing us Lamb, because all the ones we did never had us getting CeeDee Lamb. And so it was real interesting when he fell all the way to us. And, obviously sometimes our mock drafts are more jaded with how we rate the board versus how the league might rate the board. And every team has different systems, different offensive systems, different defensive systems, and, can rate players differently. So, you never know for sure how things are going to shake out. And, then you get into the needs that teams have and, what they're really, what they may think is a unique player, we may think is a good player, and vice versa. And so that's why it's good to have those mock drafts, and sometimes you probably can't have enough of them.
Okay, so I asked all of those just to get to this. When you guys are running those, have you seen any scenarios where no tight end is picked in the top 9 picks?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you don't have to look very far. Just we have a version, what we call the clips, that really, compiles all the media that's about the Cowboys that we get every day. And, of course, you don't have to look very far and see mock drafts that, have no tight end getting picked in the top 9 picks. So certainly, that wouldn't be a knock you off your feet scenario in terms of, a tight end not being picked in the top 9 picks, because we believe there's, especially if you just say, hey, there's 5 quarterbacks that could go in the top 10, I think there's going to be, there's 14, 15 players that are worthy of being picked in the top 10 if you say all 5 quarterbacks are.
Steven, one of your great secret weapons is Jerry. Just get him on the phone. He gets those general managers to tell him who they're going to pick. That's all you have to do. Just let him start making. I've never seen a general manager get other general managers to admit who they were going to pick.
There you go. You have it. Not many of them will do it, but every now and then you get one who will speak up for you. So it's rare, but if anybody could get someone to drop their shield, if you will, and get them maybe every now and then to say what might be on their mind, but I'd say that's probably pretty rare, Brian.
No, I tell you,
I know you and I have seen it, but it's not often.
Yeah, I saw him do it with Carl Peterson and Frank Gilliam. He had him on the phone. Each had him on the phone, and then, hey, you guys made the trade. But, Stephen, real quick, how close and how difficult has it been to have to evaluate with what you have with Patrick Surtain and J.C. Horn? I mean, we're talking like it could go either way. How has that been in the war room for you guys battling on those two guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a great debate. They're all, they're top players in the draft, and, they all, they have unique qualities. One has some that the other doesn't have, and the other has some that the other one might not have. So it's a really unique debate, and that debate goes on right now. I can assure you there's been no final decision on that. But obviously, as you know, Brian, as we can get into some very lengthy and long discussions, and that'll obviously probably only heat up and get even more intense as we get into the first part of next week, as you really start to roll up your sleeve, strategize, and really get your board down to exactly how you want it.
Talking draft here with Stephen Jones. Talking about Pitts there, as good as he is with, how Jerry's talked about him, could you see a scenario where he's on the board and you still pass on him?
Yeah, I won't get into that. That's just too much speculation for me. Obviously, I said the other day, these tight ends can be, especially special ones, can be huge mismatches. And, you've seen New England have a tremendous amount of success winning world championships with it. Certainly Kansas City's been dominant with that's probably the best tight end in the league in Kelsey. And even San Francisco with their tight end Kittle really was a big part of the reason they made it to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. So, those guys are unique, and they certainly create matchup issues. And certainly, Pitts is a rare one. So, he's a great football player.
Now, of course, I've been here trying to talk these, football lifers into how fun it would be with 4 wide receivers, at premium assets, and they look at me like I'm crazy, Steve. Is there a law of diminishing return on BPA at a certain position, or could you stand in there and fire again?
Say that again. I'm sorry, you cut out.
Is there a law when it comes to BPA? If you're stacked up at a position like, we were talking about wide receiver, and another premium wide receiver would make it historic, right? Is there a law of diminishing return on BPA to you that, hey, we just cannot do this one again, or, are those players that good?
I don't think so. I mean, I just think when you have those type of weapons, obviously you see Kansas City getting it done with a lot of different weapons, and they're explosive, and they're very difficult to match up with, and very difficult to slow down. Well, when they have a hot hand, they'll say, the only thing that probably slowed them a little is losing offensive linemen tackles, and even when you got great weapons and a great quarterback, if the guy doesn't have time to throw it, then it creates issues. And obviously that was a big part of our problem last year when we lost, 3 of our starters, and, then lost depth to boot. And, it just creates issue when you can't protect your quarterback. And it makes it difficult to run it as well. Certainly Zeke had, when you don't have that group up front that you're used to, it's a different look when you get the ball.
How appealing does that potentially make a couple of guys that are maybe left tackles in college but could play guard in the NFL if you have the right guy available at 10 there? Do you guys factor in Tyron's health, and is LC going to be back all the way, and consider kind of doubling down on the strength of the team there?
Well, I'll start with the fact that we believe that both Tyron and Lyle and Zach are going to come into this season as good as we've seen them in a long time. I mean, they're healthy. They're over their injuries. We feel very optimistic, what they can do. And, it's a huge plus that they've really done amazing. After they had their injuries, they've rehabbed from them, and we feel like they're ready to roll. And not only are we going to have a great year this year, but several years to come. So that's a huge plus. But at the end of the day, obviously, we had as much success as anyone taking a left tackle in college and make them an all-pro guard in Zach Martin. And certainly Connor Williams has done a nice job for us. But certainly those left tackles in college, depending on their length and how you feel about them, can move down in there and do, become very special as a guard at our level.
Steven, this might be an unfair question because you're still working through your board and stuff, but are you noticing like a pocket of different positions where there seems to be 3, 4, 5 guys stacked in there in certain rounds? Is there a couple positions that you can kind of talk to us about that, hey, Brian, I'm seeing these cornerbacks, these defensive ends, offensive tackles? Is there something that you've kind of noticed a little bit of a trend that you've seen a bunch of quality pocket of players at?
Yeah, I think there's some spots that some years are better than others. Some years are worse than others. I will say this. It seems like there's always a bunch of receivers.
Right.
And, obviously with the college game where it's gone, they certainly are producing the receivers, and you get to see them do it, time and time again. And we just, finished up another round of going through receivers again. And, boy, it's makes your eyes blur at the end because there is a large quantity of receivers throughout the draft. But you do get positions at times where you see, hey, this is where we have some offensive linemen ranked, and, we might have an opportunity there if we're willing to be patient, maybe to pick someone up there where there's quite a few guys that we have, ranked more, middle of the type draft that might be a good fit for us.
Steven, thanks so much for making time. We look forward to catching up with you next week.
Hey, thanks, guys. Always a pleasure to be on.